Okay, for our first barrel, we're going to do something that's going to require a lot more attention than a Jasper. We're going to do Calcite, which is a little ambitious for a first tumble. Here we have some blue Calcite. We have about a dozen pieces of rough, and it just happens to weigh 2 pounds, which is 2/3 of our 3-pound barrel. I've already pre-measured it. Let's just put it in the barrel here. These lovely, lovely pieces. And this is just under, it's about half. So I have some orange calcite and green, and I have a lot of different colors. So I'm going to put a few pieces in here to level out the barrel. Okay, let's see, let's do the orange calcite. I have several pieces of this. Look at that, that's going to be really awesome. I've had these pieces laying around my house for about 16 years. Let's take some tiny pieces, get those in there. So we want some different sizes to kind of bang around in here. And I used to make jewelry about 20 years ago, and I've had some of this stuff left over. So we're just kind of trying to make sure we're only 2/3 of the way full. So this barrel's about 4 inches in height, so we want it just a little under. We want to leave about an inch space from the lip here, about an inch, inch and a half, to kind of stay within our 2/3 ratio. Our poundage is not over what the barrel can handle. So far, so good. Now let's add our coarse. So I measured out the 6090 coarse grit, the silicone oxide, and everybody says, you know, all the instructions from the manufacturer, everybody's talking about tablespoons. And then there's a woman that I follow on YouTube. Her name is Shannon from Reiki Gem Wellness. Shout out to her. She goes by weight. She goes by ounces. So I took my handy little cup here and I did 4 level tablespoons equals 3 ounces of grit. And so if you've got a 3-ounce barrel, you want 3 ounces of grit. Because this is calcite and it's not as hard on the MOHS scale, I think it's like a 3.5. Then a Jasper, which is a 7, and with a Jasper I would have put in 4 tablespoons, or I would have put in 4 ounces, but yeah, I'm going to do less because it's a softer stone, and we're going to see what that does to us next week. So let's just put this in. Okay, and now we got to add some water, so let's just kind of knock that off a little, and we just want the water to come up to the bottom of the top layer of stone, because otherwise it's too much water and it just sloshes around and you don't get a good grind. So, and for this stage I'm using regular tap water. When I get to the fine grit and the polishing stages, I'm going to use distilled because I don't want to add anything extra. So as you can you see that? You see where the water level is? It's just right there. Now I did get a little coarse grit on this lip, and I'm going to want to clean that off because we want the lid to have a good sit, a good seal. So let's just wipe that off and into the barrel. Why not? And I want to kind of wipe off this internal lip as well, because again, I don't really want things sitting on there that's going to cause a leakage. Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh, I'm so bloody excited. Oh, there was something more I wanted to do. I was reading from some other sites on YouTube about rock tumbling, and they suggested that in the coarse stage you add a little bit of baking soda to keep the gases down so the barrel won't bubble and you won't have to burp it perhaps. So we're going to try this experiment all at the same time because, you know, we love experiments. Okay, if I can actually open a box of baking soda. And yes, I'm keeping this aside just for rock tumbling. I will not be using this for anything else because that would just be dangerous. So I'm going to take a little bit of that grit that was left on my spoon there. And I forget the ratio, so we're going to do 1. Let's do 2. I don't know, my gut says 2. We'll see if my gut's right. So we're going to put 2 tablespoons of baking soda. We're going to see what this does. If the thing blows up, we'll know not to do that. So take our instructions off because we're not going to need that. We're going to want to just pop this in, seal it. Make sure that it's on tight. Level would be interesting. Doesn't feel like it wants to go anywhere else. It doesn't feel like it's loose or anything. So we're going to put our other lid on. There, it feels like it's on good and tight. The washer, the nut. Just finger snug. If you do it any tighter, it's going to warp the lid and warp the barrel according to the manufacturer, and it will leak. So we don't want it to leak. Okay, so that's 1. We'll put that in here. So let's take the rest of that calcite that I have laying around and let's do it in our second barrel. I know most people go off screen by this time, but I want you to actually see how long all this stuff takes. Okay, another new barrel. We're gonna put some emerald green calcite in here. Look at this stuff, isn't it beautiful? Where'd that orange go? I'm going to top this off with the orange that we have left over. These are all really big pieces. Super big pieces. I think that's over full. And you know, when in doubt, take it out. You don't want to risk not being able to get a good, sorry, you see my head there. You don't want to risk not getting a good rotation just because we were too greedy and wanted to put too much in there. So I'm going to put the baking soda, and because we were experimenting, I'm only going to put 1 baking soda in this one. We put 2 in the other. So we're going to put 1 in here and we're going to see if it makes a difference. So we need 4 coarse. This is our 60-90 grit. Okay, you always want to close your grit back up when you're finished with it because you don't want to get it contaminated. Lord help us if that happens. Okay, water. Oh, that was a little too much water. Well, we'll make a little note of that. And we'll see. Can I stick another rock in here maybe? You know, I think I can put another rock in here. All right, I think this is a little full. We'll see what happens. Okay, put the lid back on it, make sure it's snug and secure. Put this on. Make sure it didn't feel very secure. Just kind of squeezing it down a little bit. Good thing about those rubber barrels is that they move around. Okay. Washer, nut, I think they call this a knurl nut, K-N-U-R-L. Okay, set that on here, bring our Lotron back. Now, got it in here, I'm gonna plug it in because there's no on or off switch. And now it's rolling. And now we know how loud a lower tone 33B is. It's shaking our table, so sorry about the video vibrating.
All time.
But this is what we've got. So tune in next week and we'll see what our recipe turns out for the calcite. Hi, welcome back. We're here 24 hours after putting in our very first rocks, or the calcite, and we're going to check on it. This is our 24-hour check to make sure everything's going the way we want it. So we're going to leave that one tumbling. We're just going to take this one off. So, fun fact, yesterday we had a blowout. One of my barrels opened because I didn't have the lid on tight enough. So that was my bad. That was a fun mess to clean up. So I think it was this barrel actually. Okay. So let's see what we've got here. Dig in. Rinse it off. Holy cow. I think if I left this in here for any longer, there'd be nothing left. It's really, I think I put way too much coarse in here. But it's doing its job. It's smoothing the pieces off. See how a lot of the sharp edges, it's all going down. Damn, you know what? Let's just dig through. Find another piece. That's why we have a towel, because we make a mess. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm actually going to stop this one. Give it a good check. And I might be moving these forward. Okay, let's just set these back in here for now. Set this over here. And let's check this barrel. See what it's doing. See how quiet that machine is? I don't know why anybody would buy anything else. Okay. This is the other calcite we started. This is the one that didn't blow open. Oh my gosh, there's like... Yeah. These are gonna move on. Can you see this here? The roughs. This is 24 hours, folks. I put way too much grit in here for it to be coming down this fast. look at this. How... Yeah, we're done. We're moving on to medium. Holy cow! I thought for sure this would be in here for 3 days. And I put way too much grit because these are really starting to shrink in size too. Here. This is the blue calcite. It could run another day. It could run another day. Maybe I'll check on it in 12 hours and see what's happening. There's a couple of spots. Wow. Okay. That's pretty darn cool. We will check back in 12 hours and see what we have and see if it's going to really move on to medium or not. And I might just be very super impatient. So we're going to see what we can do. I'm going to put these barrels back together, put them back on our rollers, and we should be good. Alrighty. See you in 12 hours. Okay. We are going to check our barrels. We have calcite running in rough. It's been, about 30 hours, I'd say. 30, 31 hours. The reason we're checking it so early is because I checked it at 24 hours and it appeared that it was processing much faster than we thought. So let's unplug our machine and let's open our barrel. And let's see what we have inside. And we're going to know if we need to. I think I'm going to check each stone. So we're just going to do a spot check right now. Okay. Go. Oof. Took them both off at once. Okay. Let's take our first stone out. Looks like it's green calcite. We've got a lot of mixed colors in here, remember. Okay. Can you see this? So it feels rough, obviously. There's a line here. It's rounded beautifully. There's a gouge here. It's not a chip, it's just an indentation. So if we leave it in rough a little longer, hopefully this might smooth out some. Let's check another. Oh, this one's got the same issue. I'm afraid that this might crack. Or it may not, it just may be a deep groove. Still feel a lot of grit in the barrel. This is the orange calcite. Yeah, it still needs to stay in here. I've just been panicking. First tumble. Oh my, look at these. Yeah, there's a lot that needs to happen for smoothing and rounding out these stones. You can see how it's really shrunk down in size. But we are getting a lot of the sharp edges are getting off. This still has a lot in here that needs to come out, needs to smooth. Alright, I think what we need to do is learn patience. We are not going to move this to medium. a little indentation here. This one's close. This needs to be looked at here. These sides look really good. It's rounding really nice. So we're going to leave all these stones in here. There's plenty of water, plenty of grit still in there. I mean, it's only been 30 hours, so grit should last a week. So I'm going to clean this up, put it back on the rollers, and there's plenty of space in here. We're still, even though we've lost a lot, there's still, I could put some ceramic media in here to protect these. Might do that. Okay, we have a lot of this. So here, some large ceramic media. You can see it's brand new, never been used, so it's still sharp edges. Coarse material is the best time to put this in. I'm gonna put a few in. I'm not putting a lot in here because I want to put some small ceramic media in as well. You can see this is a lot smaller. And we want all this. This is supposed to help the grit distribute what am I trying to say? The ceramic media is supposed to help the grit find its way to the stone and to help cushion it from knocking against each other and causing bruising or cracking of the stones. So yeah, and there's so much foam you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm going to add some more. Okay, and we're going to give this several more hours. We're going to see, hang on here, this is just water. If I can get it to start pumping, clear my hand off. Because our dipping water is full of foam. And I have more water here. There we go. Wash this off. We want to put our media away. Let's clean the side of the tub so we can get a good seal when we put the lid back on. And the reason I'm showing you these boring steps is so that the new tumblers out there that are as nervous and anxious as I am will learn what they need to do to kind of shorten the learning curve. So when we talk about cleaning the rim, we're not kidding. We really want that rim. We want to get rid of all this foam because this foam has grit in it and the grit will impede a good seal. We want to rinse this off, which is the inside lid. Again, so we can get a good seal. Okay. Oh, cleaning this off. Okay, now. I don't know if you can see this or if my hand is in the way, but we're trying to clean this rim off as best we can. And this does look like the water is really high, but it's foam. It's not really water. So yeah, it's all sitting in there. Okay. We'll clean inside of this lid just pretty lightly. You see how quickly things get messy. This is not a clean activity. Okay, we're gonna put this back on our rotary and check back tomorrow. Okay, so it's been 30 hours now. We'll check back at 48 hours. Okay. All right. And that's what we do. Hi again. So I didn't check these at the 36-hour mark. I waited and I let this go a full 3 days. And I've rinsed the stones off. And this is what we have after 3 days, 3 full days in course. And as you can see, these have rounded nicely. Boy, did that go thin. Look at this. And if we want to see how much, this is the rough. And this is how large all these pieces were, you know, when we started. And this is after 3 days in rough. And see how much material was actually lost. Now these were not cushioned. I did not put any ceramic media in here because this is an experiment. This is to see how things are done. So, I mean, wow, we really lost a lot. Now I'm going to need to inspect these stones because when I was washing them off, I had picked one up, and I don't know if you can, whoops, let's find where you are. I don't know if you can see this, but this, a piece just cracked right off. So we're going to hold this piece back. It's not going to go into medium. We're going to need to put this through another rough to smooth that out. I mean, this could have been the chip. And it's smoothed off. So tiny. Okay, so let's put these in here for complete inspection. And let's open up the other barrel, which was the green calcite. And we threw a couple pieces of orange in there to fill up the barrel. Now this one, I did put ceramic media in to try and cushion. So let's see if this helped the sizes any. Okay. So, as you can see, some of these pieces stayed larger, but not that much. You know, I mean, they were all about the same size when we, remember, they were all like this size when we started. Now, this is kind of, see, this one I was worried was going to crack in half. I'm going to have to clean that really careful to make sure no grit stays in there. So I'm kind of surprised at how opaque these became. Because as you can see, before, it was kind of, I don't know, maybe it's not opaque, maybe it's just an illusion on my end. There's a line here, I wonder if this rock is going to split. It goes all the way through. Okay, so this is after 3 days in course. And we're going to inspect them all, clean them all really well with a toothbrush, make sure there's no grit left, clean the barrels really well. And then we're going to move on to medium. And I'm going to definitely, all of this can go into one barrel because we've lost so much mass. And I'm going to put more ceramic media in as well to help cushion, and we don't want these to bruise and we don't want to lose any more. Oh, look, that just broke in my hand. So that would be something you would not want to move on to the next stage of grit, because it's just going to cause problems. It's going to cause bruising, which is when the rocks smash together and it leaves little imperfections. Yeah, so here we are. So this is after 3 days in course. Way too much course, because we had overdone it. Now I do have another barrel I can run with this, and we can start it with the ceramic media because we know it's going to help, and we can use the correct amount, of course. Yeah. See, and this is what it's all about. It's refining the recipes, making sure that, you know, the way that we're doing it is working. And that's why when you first start tumbling, you're gonna need a lot of patience, and you're gonna need a lot of adjustments. So be prepared for that. And it's fun. This is the fun of it. All right, we will check in 2 days after it has run in medium. And it should be a lot smoother. There's like, let me dry this off and see if you can see it. Okay. It has kind of a rough, matte feel to it. Yeah, see, there's a chip right there. That's not moving forward either. Dry this one. Alrighty. Very smooth. There's no sharp marks. There's no... Wow, this feels really nice. Okay. So, after medium, we'll move on to our 5, well, medium is also, it's the 120, 220 cerium oxide, I think that is. I have to look it up. I've forgotten already. Yeah, see, this is going to be nice. Yeah. Okay, we will see you in 2 days. Okay, so before we go on to medium, I forgot a very important step. We need to wash these. We need to run a wash cycle before we move on, so that we make sure we get all the grit out of it. Now, I combined both barrels, and after inspecting the rocks, this is what we have left. So it's just, it's about half full. And I did pull some stones out that needed a little bit more time in course. Like this divot here is just going to do nothing but catch grit. This has got a little rough spot I'd like to come out right here. And this one I'd like, there it is. There's just something that just smooths out just a little bit more. So we'll put those aside for another calcite rough batch, and we can just throw those in to help smooth them out. So now let's take the media, ceramic media, large and small, that we had put in that one barrel, and we're going to put it back in here to help us with the wash cycle, because we want all this stuff done off too. So we want all the grit washed off as well. So let's just put these in here. It's going to serve two purposes, as we keep saying over and over again. It's going to cushion the rocks, and it's going to help the grit move along and do its job. So as you can see, you're going to need to add a little bit more. So let's just add a little more. And we want to have different sizes so that it can get into all the nooks and crannies. Alright, that looks good. Okay, let's close those up, put that away. Now we're going to want to add some water. just to about there. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of Draft, which is baby powder or baby laundry detergent, because it doesn't have any chemicals in it. So let me go get that, put that in here, and then it's ready to tumble. So onto the wash cycle. This is going to run for a couple of hours, and then we're going to do a thorough rinse, re-inspect the stones to make sure no damage happened in the rinse cycle, and then we're going to put them on 2 days in medium grit. Alrighty, I'll show you what it looks like when we clean it. Okay, we're back again, and we're going to fill that empty barrel, and we're going to label it barrel 2 with 6090, which is coarse grit. Today's 8-2, and this is when we're starting it, and it's going to be Serape Jasper. This is because we're on a dual barrel tumbler, and the first barrel is going to have the wash cycle of the calcite. So we want to make sure, you know, that we're dealing with the correct barrels when we're doing stuff here. So I'm going to have to start labeling them. Now, this is the large Serape, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Jasper. This is 2 pounds of it. It's a very large stones. I do not want to break this up. I want to keep it really big. So, oh, this is going to be really cool. Oh, look at the banding on that one. Oh, this is going to be so neat. And this is 2 pounds worth. So this is going to be good for here. The problem is it's all roughly the same size. So in order to, I mean, as you can see, how is this stuff going to hit against each other? So we're going to be adding large and small ceramic media to this to help the coarse grit do its job. So, oh, this one's really cool. Look at all that. I hope it stays. But it's on a sharp edge, so probably not. Now I could break these into smaller chunks. But again, we're in the experimentation stage, so we want to see what's going to happen. This one's kind of gray. This has got some pretty colors going through it. Now this is dry. This is dry rough. So let's see what happens when we get it wet. Oh, look at how much prettier that is. Now this is Jasper, so this is going to take a couple of weeks or more in the coarse stage. It's a MOHS hardness 7. Ooh, look at that. I think this one's my favorite. So MOHS hardness 7, there's kind of a trick that I learned by watching thousands of YouTube videos. The MOHS hardness relates to how many days in course. So if it's a MOHS hardness 7, it's a very bare minimum 7 days in course. And you'll run them probably in 7-day cycles. So if it's not where you want it after 7 days, you'll run it for another 7 days. And we're going to experiment and see if that's true, because I've seen some videos where 10 days is enough. I've seen some where, 15 days, 20 days, it's just not, I don't know. We're going to see what it is. I like to experiment. I like to question things. Oh, this one's really cool. I love red rocks. I don't know what it is about them. Maybe my root chakra needs some work. I love red rocks. Alright, so this is pretty full. And I think what we're going to do is hold these two out, and since I'm sure a lot of, you know what, let's hold that one out. It's not very pretty. I'm sorry, gray rocks. I don't know. Can we put pellets in there? Yeah, we're gonna leave these two out. Let's put them in our labeled. I'm very organized. I just don't sound it. So this is the container that I had the rough in, and all of my rough is in similar containers, so I don't forget what they are. And I know that I'm not going to be running this. I don't want a bunch of loose rocks laying around, so I'm going to put that back in its container and save it for another Jasper that needs filler. All Jaspers can be run together, doesn't matter what color they are. They're all the same hardness, and when you're tumbling rocks, it's about the hardness. So now there's a lot of space in here, so we're going to add our media. Oops. I'm going to start with some large. I'm going to give it a little shake so it goes down into some of the holes. And then we're going to add oops, I knew I was going to make a mess. I'm organized. I'm not tidy. Two different things. Okay. All right. Now put our media away. So we have room to work. A couple of loose pieces we'll throw in here. There's one behind the camera that's snuck away. Okay, now we want to add our coarse grit and a little baking soda. So we're going to do a much smaller amount of baking soda, because this is just to keep gases down in this first tumble, of course. Okay, so that's the baking soda. Now, 3 ounce barrel, 3 ounces of grit, or 4 tablespoons is 3 ounces. So we did that measuring before, so we know 4. And this is how much grit I put in the calcite, and it was really, I was looking at the Jasper recipe. Now I forgot how many I put in. I'll put one more in because I can't remember where I was. Okay. Let's pray that is correct. Next, water. And that is just a tad bit too much water. But, we'll be okay. Now, let's dry off the rim for when I cleaned this from calcite. All right, this barrel we will check on in 24 hours to make sure that there's no gas buildup. And then, if everything's running smoothly, we'll see it again in 6 days, which will be a total of 7. Just want that snug. We do not want that so too tight. Okay, again, it's all labeled, so we're good to go. Put it on the tumbler. We'll see you in a couple hours after the wash on the calcite, and the Jasper you won't see again until next week. Alrighty, have a nice day. Okay, we're back after the wash cycle. Let this run for a couple of hours. We're gonna open this up here. Look at that. Oh, they feel so much smoother. Whoop. Well, there we go, being messy again. I dropped it at the bottom of the water. Let's dry it off. This, when it went into the grit, it felt very rough because the grit was still on the stone, obviously. So now it's been rinsed. Oh my gosh, it's much smoother. Much smoother. Oh my gosh. Wish you could, this could be feel-o-vision, so you could feel how much better this is. Oh, it has a little chip. I think the medium grit can settle that out. There's a little rough spot there. Yeah. Okay. Rinse all this off. So smooth. Yeah, so this whole side here has a little bit of a rough feel. And I think that the medium grit's going to take care of all that. Okay. There, Tumbler was rocking a little. Okay, so let's get this all washed up, and then we're going to run it through medium grit. Be back in a minute. Okay, our calcite's been rinsed from the wash cycle. And now we're going to dump it out there, and we're going to do an inspection. Handy dandy cloth here, and anything that's not ready to move forward is going into the rough barrel. This is the one we have labeled for needs more coarse, so we're going to put that in there. So let's take a look. This can move forward. Anything that can move forward is going back in our barrel. Now, I'm curious what's going to happen with all this calcite here, or whatever was on the calcite that makes it rough. It's this stuff right here. I wonder what's going to happen with that. Because frankly, I don't like the look of that. I think the stone is beautiful. Other than that, if this does not come off in the medium grit, I will put this stone back in coarse and see if it'll come off. Okay. We're looking for chips, pits, anything that could hold grit, cause a problem. It takes away from the smoothness of the stone and the natural beauty of it. Okay. Yeah, so there's this spot right here. And we're gonna watch that. This looks like a little chip right here. We're gonna see if medium can smooth that out. If medium does not smooth that out, it'll go back into coarse. So this is our new experiment because it's going to do medium for 2 days. And medium is 120, 220 grit. Now this is just a natural look. I thought that the stone might crack, but it's not. And it's, you see how it's still really shiny inside there? And it's because the grit's not getting in. So, again, this has some spots right here. Oh, wrong way. Do it over here. I really think that should probably go back into rough. So we'll put that back into coarse. Now, see how pretty this is getting. Okay, this one can go back in the barrel. Alright. This is at a spot. I don't know, I think medium might be able to get rid of some of this. Because medium is, I mean, even though most of the shaping is done with the coarse grit, medium still plays a part. I don't know if this is going to work or not. This is going to be an experiment. Can you see that? That deep groove? Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. It's an experiment. Put it in the barrel. Tiny little chip that came off one of the blue stones. It's so little. Look at how tiny that is. Whoop, well, was. I'm going to put this back in the barrel just to use as filler to help move the grit around. Yeah, most of these are turning out alright, but this is kind of boring for a video to watch, but this is part of the fun of the tumbling. This is when you actually inspect your stones. You get to spend some time with them. You know, this is kind of the point of the hobby, just to see what you can do. Alright. So, yeah, this is going back in rough. This has got a bad part. You see that? I gotta figure out which way this camera's going. There's a really big divot in here. Got a lot that's going back in rough. This barrel's getting smaller and smaller. You know what that means? More ceramic media. Okay, that one's doing good. This is kind of interesting. I kind of like the banding that's in there. Not happy about that little white spot. I'm hoping the medium grit will take that off. Could you imagine if this was a 12-pound barrel instead of a 3-pound barrel? Would be here all freaking day. Wow, there's like nothing in that barrel. Ooh. Okay. This corner, I'm betting by the time it's done in medium, is going to pop off and create a problem. So, more experience will tell us what we're supposed to do. Do we move forward? Do we throw it back in course? And it's an experiment. Let's see if it really comes off. Boy, again, the size difference. It started out this great big huge piece of rough, and now it's little. The reason I'm drying them off is so I can see the damage better, because when they're wet it kind of hides it, so you can't really tell what's happening. Alright, this has got a rough spot right here. I don't know if medium is gonna... I mean, these are a MOHS hardness 3, so these are, you know, pretty soft stone. I don't know. We're gonna find out what medium can really do. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is we put it through medium and it's still rough, and then we have to go back. So it's really not that big a deal. It depends on how much of a perfectionist you want to be, versus how much your patience will win out. Because if to be a perfectionist, your patience wins out, and I have no patience. So we'll see what happens here. I think this one's my favorite of the greens. Isn't it pretty? So smooth. It's got nice banding inside. Oh my gosh. This just breaks my heart because these blue calcites were huge. I mean, you saw them in the beginning. So, and now they're just these teeny tiny little things. And that's my bad because I put way too much coarse in. Oh well, live and learn. Yeah, this is another, the green stones seem to have these, I don't know if it's cleavage. I don't know what it is, but it's got these deep divots, gouges, I don't know, valleys, pick a word. I don't know. A smart person will put this back in course. I'm not smart. I'm impatient and I want to see. And evidently so do the dogs. So, yeah. If I put that back in course, there won't be anything left of it. They're all so tiny. Yeah, see, this has got, that should go back in rough. I'll go back in coarse. I don't know. It's an experiment. We're going to see. Alright, so this is all that's left. Just under half a barrel. So let's put the ceramic media back in here. And we're going to fill it up for medium grit. Anytime today. There's one that got loose. 2 more that got loose. Okay. Medium grit. And I can't remember the recipe. So we're gonna just do 2 tablespoons. Because there's like nothing in here. I could probably have gotten away with 1.5, but we'll see. Alright, let's add some water. Stop it right there. What do you think? I think we need a little bit more ceramic media. Because we really want to cushion these. We don't want them to get bruised. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Okay, we will see this in 2 days. I hope I have the patience to wait 2 days. Thanks for sitting through this with me. Those of you new to the tumbling game will appreciate what you actually have to do. A lot of the videos I saw, people would just say, and now I'm going to do this, then they go off camera. And you don't really understand what's happening. So now we have this label for wash. We want to take that off now. And we're going to want to relabel it medium. Medium, which is 120, 220, and this is calcite. And today is 8/2, and we will check it in 2 days. See you on the 4th.